Okay, I'm going to get started this morning by just welcoming all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung Yu. Nice to see all of you guys this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online as well. Today is a tour that we're going to be taking out to two different temples, but we start with meditation here at the temple. So welcome to you guys that maybe it's your first time here. Some of you guys are here from a course that I've been teaching over the last 4 days. This is like the capstone to that course to be able to go out on this tour. I'll explain to you guys all about this tour after we do our meditation. The way that we start our meditation is we start with some chanting to ease into the meditation. If you'd like to see these chants, they're on a laminated sheet over there on the cabinet. You'll see the Pali version of these chants because we chant in this Pali language. Whenever we're chanting, it's important to understand that it's not a rite or ritual or a ceremony or worship or anything like that. It's not prayer or anything like during the lifetime of the Buddha. He used it as a way to help his students commit the teachings to memory because everything that he taught was oral. So they needed a way to commit the teachings to memory. The technology to write things down didn't exist in that region of the world. It wasn't until after the death of the Buddha that technology made its way to Northeast India where the Buddha was teaching. You might not see writing something down as technology, but 2,500 years ago, that was technology to write things down. So they used chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, they would come together and they would recite his teachings word for word for word. So you can see that there isn't anything mystical or magical about these chants. It's not a rite or ritual or a ceremony or worship or prayer or anything like that. The Buddha never taught any of those kinds of things. Everything that the Buddha taught was all about training your mind to get to this enlightened mental state where the mind can be peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience any discontent feelings. All the anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy, all these feelings and others are eliminated from the mind because you've eliminated the causes and conditions that are producing it. Oftentimes people think that what's causing them to be angry is the outside world, but oftentimes when people are in the unenlightened state, they're not understanding true reality and what the Buddha actually taught. When you learn what the Buddha taught through learning, examining, and investigating, and you reflect on that to independently verify it and practice it, you'll be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, and this is why you can actually eliminate them. You don't need to walk around with anger and sadness and frustration and all these other discontent feelings. They can be completely eliminated from the mind. And it's meditation that's going to help you to do that, but there's other things you need besides meditation as well. So I do these chants nowadays to help ease the mind into meditation and actually get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So it's important to know that it's not a rite, a ritual, or a ceremony or worship. If you read the English translations on these chants, you're going to see a lot of appreciation and gratitude and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't even think the Buddha created these chants himself. They were probably created by his students either during his life or after his death. Because if you learn from a teacher of how to move from anger and sadness and frustration and all these other discontent feelings to the peaceful and calm mental state that has joy and it's a permanent mental state. And this teacher didn't want anything from you. They didn't expect anything from you. They were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart. You'd probably have a lot of respect and gratitude for that person too. So a Buddha doesn't walk around and say, here, chant these things to me out of respect to me. This would be like ego and arrogance. So that's how I know the Buddha wouldn't have created these chants for himself and taught his students to chant them to him. Instead, this was most likely his students that created this either during his life or after his death. So I chant these in order to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So you're welcome to join along as we're doing the chanting. Then after the chanting, I'm going to come in with some guidance, helping you guys to meditate while we're actually meditating. You'll hear me instructing you in the meditation itself while we're actually meditating. So you'll kind of be learning and meditating at the same time. But then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're just all meditating together. Everyone here at the temple, all of you online that are joining us, you're welcome to meditate with us and it'll just be quiet. there's not going to be a situation where you can experience permanent quietness. So you're going to hear sounds in the environment. No matter where you are, there's going to be sounds. But the unenlightened mind oftentimes is craving permanence. It's wanting things to be permanent. So if you crave and long and yearn for permanent silence while you're meditating, you're going to create annoyance and frustration within your own mind when you hear a sound, because the mind's not comfortable with that impermanence. So if you eliminate any kind of craving or longing or yearning for permanent quietness, when you hear a sound, you'll just know that it's normal, because the world around you is impermanent. So here at the temple, when you're meditating, you might hear a car go by, you might hear a bird chirping, you might hear a dog barking. There's any number of things that you might hear, but this is all normal because it's just impermanence. And as long as your mind isn't craving permanence, you'll be able to maintain your peace and joy during that time frame. So then after we're meditating together and it's just quiet, then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And that's where I'll explain to you guys what we're going to be doing on the tour today. And I'll take a count and see how many people are actually coming. And then we'll head out to the tour from there. So in terms of your body positioning for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. Because you can't be in any one particular position permanently, you're going to need different positions at different times. But oftentimes students are learning in the seated position, either sitting on the floor or in a chair or something like that. So I'm going to give you some guidance on sitting, but just understand that what I'm sharing with you is only guidance. You need to find what's comfortable for you. There isn't just one fixed way to sit during meditation. If you're on the floor, you might be sitting with some cushions under your rear. This is going to help soften your seat. And then you might just decide to lightly bring your legs together in the cross-leg position. If you have them real tight, this will impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets their hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. So that's an option for you as well. In terms of your hands and the arms, the Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. But again, it's not about everyone doing it the same way. You need to find what's comfortable for you. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees or their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. For those of you guys that might be in a chair or a bench or a sofa or wheelchair or anything like that, what you would like to do is most likely maybe put your feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankle. These are options for you, but you can see I'm sitting in a chair with my legs crossed, so someone might choose to do that too. Again, it's up to you to find what's comfortable. These are just suggestions for you. And then you can place your hands and arms wherever you might like. All those different options that I mentioned are options for you. In terms of your upper body, you would like your sternum to be up and your shoulders to be back. With your upper body erect, this helps to keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, because this is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from your mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So having the mind attentive and alert during the meditation is going to help you to be able to train your mind actively. It also will help you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, because if you were a slouch, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic, and it would be challenging to breathe. But also, if you are real rigid, your mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back, which will help keep the mind attentive and alert, as well as make it easy for you to breathe in and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to ease us into meditation with some chanting. You guys are welcome to join along. And then afterwards, I'm going to come back in with some guidance for you. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Sanghang Namami. นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตูอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามานุสนังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหะวาโพตังมหะวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหะวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมพุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรภูริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตวะมนุสนังโหโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Again, welcome to all of you guys. Sawadee Kap. Good morning. Nice to see all of you guys here. As I mentioned, today is our group tour. We're going to be taking students out to see two different temples. There's essentially two main branches of Buddhism here in Thailand. There's one that is typically referred to as the forest tradition, and another one that's oftentimes referred to as the city tradition. The way that the Thais refer to this is Dhammayut and Dhammagai, and these two traditions are different in the way that they practice the teachings. The vast majority of the temples here are what we would refer to as a city temple, even though they're not all in the city. And then only about 10% of them are a forest temple. And by visiting the two temples on the same day, you can see they're very much different between the two. And what I'm going to be doing is touring students around and helping you guys to understand the artwork, the architecture, the symbolism, because as you walk around the temple right now, you might be like, oh, that's beautiful, I'll take a picture of that. Or, oh, that's beautiful, I'll take a picture of that. But the way that these temples are actually constructed, the teachings of the Buddha are actually embedded into the temples. And if you understand the teachings of the Buddha, it's almost like the temple walls will speak to you. It's like a classroom without walls that I walk you through. It's almost like a library that when you walk through a temple, if you understand the teachings of the Buddha, you can really glean a lot of information. So by going to a temple with someone who understands the teachings and can explain to you what you're seeing, it can really make this temple come to life. And not just the temples that we visit, but when you visit any other temple, examples. You'll be able to apply the things that I teach you today to those kinds of things. Essentially, what the teachings of the Buddha is it's to heal from what hurt you so that you never need to hurt ever again. His teachings aren't a bunch of beliefs. There's not a bunch of beliefs that you believe things and then you hope something good happens when you die. Instead, you're learning, examining, and investigating his teachings now in this life. You are then reflecting on those teachings to determine whether they're true or they're false. And then you're practicing his teachings, integrating them into your life to be able to train your mind. He discovered these 10 individual pollutions in the mind. And when you uproot these pollutions out of the mind, this is where you'll see the peace and the joy. You'll see all these qualities of enlightenment start to shine through. That not only will the mind be peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy, but you'll notice focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory because the mind's performing optimally. It's no longer polluted with these 10 pollutions, or we refer to them as the 10 fetters. You'll notice that your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming because right now you might have a certain amount of bitterness and harshness and hostility in some of your relationships. And as long as you're putting that out, that's what's going to come back to you in your day-to-day life. So by the time you train your mind and you transform your mind where you're not being bitter, harsh, and hostile any longer, you'll notice that you can clean up your relationships because you've cleaned up your mind in the way that you interact in your day-to-day life. You'll get to the point where you don't even have a bad mood anymore, that it's physically impossible for an enlightened being to experience a bad mood. And as I mentioned, this comes through training of the mind. It's not based in belief, because with belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing something because somebody convinced you to believe it, or you convinced yourself to believe it. But in order to get to enlightenment, you need to cultivate wisdom. And the way that you cultivate wisdom is through not believing anything, that you learn, examine, investigate, you reflect on those teachings, and then you practice them. And that's where you'll see the truth, because you know in situations where you're angry and you're frustrated and you're agitated, and when you've been training your mind in these teachings and you experience that exact same situation and you see your mind's calm and peaceful, you'll know that it's these teachings that are leading you to that improved state of mind. So as I mentioned, these teachings are here to help people heal from what hurt them so that you never need to hurt ever again. But what's hurting you is not the outside world. It's what's going on within your own mind. So with the way that the teachings of the Buddha work is he's sharing with you the wisdom of how your mind is functioning and how the world is functioning so that you can understand that. When you lack wisdom of the way the world functions through natural laws, you will struggle and have difficulties. That's what the anger and the sadness and the frustration and all these other discontent feelings are. The stress and anxiety. It's a mind that is living in a world that it doesn't understand. And when you don't understand natural laws, you will struggle and have difficulties. Just like we struggled with the natural law of gravity. When we were growing up, we didn't understand this natural law. We lacked wisdom of it. So we struggled. We fell down. We hit our head. We bumped our elbows. We broke our toys. We might have busted open our knees and started bleeding because we didn't understand this natural law and we were making unwise decisions. But slowly but surely, we started making wiser and wiser decisions because we awoke to this wisdom of the natural law of gravity. And now we're at the point where we can ride bicycles, we can ride motorbikes, we can get on airplanes and fly all over the world because we fully awoke to this natural law of gravity. We can even climb ladders and things like this. So we started learning to look at the surface of the sidewalk and tie our shoes a little bit tighter and, stop being so giddy and bouncing around like a little kid all the time. And because of that, now we don't fall down and hurt ourselves. And when we have something that we're not interested in seeing break, we kind of put that in a special area because we know that it's kind of more protected in that place. So we make wiser decisions because we've awoke to this natural law. When you're awakening, it means to cultivate wisdom. So there's certain natural laws that are affecting you, whether you're aware of them or not. When you lack wisdom of these natural laws, you're going to tend to make unwise decisions, and it's going to produce unwholesome results. And that's where the mind experiences the anger and the sadness and the frustration. And oftentimes the mind is going to blame other people. When you get angry and you feel those painful feelings, you might push people away out of your life. You might be bitter, harsh, and hostile towards them through your intentions, speech, and actions, thinking that they're the ones who are causing you to be angry. It's almost like growling and roaring at another animal. Or you might put your expectations on people and try to control people to do things your way. But now you're human, and you can evolve to a higher consciousness where you function as a better and better human being, getting to the point where you're no longer angry and frustrated and sad and all these other discontent feelings. It's like an evolution of our species that you can experience. So as we travel today, you're going to see that the natural law of karma is affecting us, whether we're aware of it or not. It's not punishments and rewards. It's not anything mystical or magical. This natural law of karma or karma, which is what some people refer to it as, which is the Sanskrit version of this word, the Pali word, which the Buddhist teachings are in Pali, is Gamma. And people who study the original teachings of the Buddha will tend to use the word Gamma. What this means is cause and effect, or action and result, the results of your decisions. When you make decisions wisely or unwisely, it will produce either wholesome results or wholesome karma, or it will produce unwholesome results or unwholesome karma. And when you lack wisdom of this natural law of karma, you'll tend to make inadvertently unwise decisions. This is where you can think you have all the best intentions in the world entering into a certain situation, and it can blow up on you, and not realizing that you're actually experiencing difficulties and struggles here because the mind is making unwise decisions. And as I mentioned, when you're experiencing unwholesome results in your life, what the mind will tend to do is it will tend to push people away, thinking that that's the problem, be bitter, harsh, and hostile towards people, almost trying to fear people into doing things your way. Or the mind might put its expectations on people and trying to control people. Sometimes people think that what they're experiencing in life is good luck or bad luck or destiny or fate, or that maybe it's other people who are causing the difficulties and struggles in your life. Or some people think there's a supreme being like God or some entity like the universe that is controlling what you experience. The more you come to understand that what you experience in your day-to-day life is based on your decisions, then if there's anything that you don't particularly care for that's going on in your life, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results. But if it's good luck or bad luck, if it's destiny or fate, or if it's other people that are causing the things that are going on in your life, or if it's some being or some entity that's controlling what you experience, you're stuck. You can't change anything about your life. And that's a real defeating perspective to take. Whereas if you can understand this cause and effect, or this action and result, this natural law of karma, that it's your life, your decisions, and your results, you'll be able to see that you can cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results. So as we travel today, I'm going to be talking with you and helping you to understand the teachings of the Buddha as we go, but just understand everything that I teach, it's not based in belief. You should never believe anything that I share. Don't believe anything that anyone else shares. You can learn, you can reflect, independently verify, and you can practice. So you'll be able to ask questions along the way on our journey today as we're stopping at different places. And as you're being polite, kind, friendly, and respectful to each other, you'll see the natural law of karma is that people will be polite, kind, friendly, respectful to you as well. We're going to be starting out here in a moment. We're going to load up into some red trucks. They're called song taos, and we're going to go to Wat Umong first, which is a forest temple. And from there, it's kind of like a park-like setting. It's out in the forest. I'm going to walk you guys around and teach you about all kinds of symbolism and artwork and architecture and the teachings of the Buddha. I'm going to be explaining to you things that are the teachings of the Buddha, but also things that aren't the teachings of the Buddha. Because what you'll see in some of these temples are things that aren't the teachings of the Buddha. So it's helpful for you to be able to see what those things are in a way that you can independently verify. So we'll spend about an hour and a half or so at Wat Umong touring around that. Then we'll get into the trucks. We'll head up the mountain. We're going to go to a Hill Tribe restaurant and have lunch. They have a big, thick menu. They have all kinds of stuff. They have meat dishes, vegetarian dishes, vegan dishes. They have coffee, smoothies, anything you would like. And if there's something you don't that you would like that they don't have, if you just ask them, I've seen them go get it from somewhere else and bring it to you. So feel free to let them know the things that you would like to eat. Then we're going to go into the temple on the mountain. It's called Wat Doi Satep, and I'm going to tour you guys around that. And then we'll get into the trucks, the song taos, and then we're going to head back down to the city. We usually get down here around 5 o'clock, sometimes a little bit later, sometimes a little bit earlier. It just depends on the traffic as we're making our way down here. And what the students will typically do is they will split the cost of the trucks amongst themselves. Each truck is 1,500 baht. So by the time we split it, it's usually between 200 to 300 baht per person, sometimes a little bit less. So you guys will be able to take care of that when you come back down the mountain. So if you guys have like 600, 800 baht in your pocket, you'll have plenty of money for water and snacks and food and the som tao and these kinds of things. There's snacks and water and all that stuff all along the way. Thais are really great about putting food everywhere. So there's no issue with getting food or snacks or water along the way. So this is kind of what our plan is today. Does anybody have any questions about what we're planning to do, where we're headed? No, you can take your own transportation if you like. You just need to know where to meet us at the different places. So like at Wat Umong, we're going to be meeting at the front of the front gate, where a lot of people go deep into the temple and they miss us. And then you'll need to know where the restaurant is, or you can just follow us and that'll help you. Yeah. Okay, can I take a count of how many people are actually going? If you guys could raise your hands, I would like to just know. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we'll need 2 trucks because I'm 16. Okay, we've got 2 trucks waiting for us out there. We have 2 bathrooms in the back of the room. You guys are welcome to use the bathroom and clean up whatever you need to clean up. And then you can just load up into either of the 2 trucks. And then once everyone's loaded up, we'll just head out from there. So thank you guys for being interested in learning the teachings of the Buddha and going on a tour. It'll be a great time to spend with you guys throughout the day. And let's go have a good time. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Okay.